Hello everyone. Steinyamite here, back today with another video. Today we are doing our ultimate Gley build guide. This one's going to be a lot of fun. We actually have two different build variations here to show off. One that we're going to call just for general bossing, one more specifically catered to a weapon known as Python. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of cool gameplay footage to show off, just trying to, maximize what we're explaining here, right? Gley is a very unique character, very fun, built a little differently from most other characters you'll see in this game because she's a lot more weapon focused than ability focused. So yeah, this build video is going to be a blast, and without further ado, let's get right on into it. Here we have our Gley build. Let's get right on into it today, shall we? So, we're doing an ultimate Gley build here. I'm really excited to show this off. I actually have a couple different build variations. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get on into it. First of all, we're going to go over our reactor, then components, stats, and then the module build list, right, for both builds, okay? We'll start with our first one here. Reactor is a little bit funny. Currently, I'm using a reactor that is, matching her non-attribute and dimension skills. However, for most of Gley's builds, and this is why I say most, it does not matter what your gun optimization condition is. Specifically, if you're using a gun like Python, for one of those builds, you're gonna want to have a reactor matching that. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. You're actually looking for the bonuses at the bottom. I'm currently rocking this one just because it has a max skill cooldown in gold. Ideally, you're looking for a skill duration and skill cooldown, both with, purple tier or higher. The reason for that is Gley's powers, for the most part, do not rely on her actual skill power. So you want to maximize things like cooldown and duration for her build with weapons and cooldowns and all of that. Next, we have our components here. For Gley, we are using a full Annihilation set. The reason for the Annihilation set is, one, it does have good boosters with defense and HP, as you can see. All four of them have at least one defense and HP, and then one has shield on it. It's okay. Gley actually does not have shields, which is kind of interesting. Gley is a very specific character. She only has HP and defense, and then obviously skill power, right? Because of that, we're using Annihilation just to have maximized boosters there, as well as the set effects are really nice. So as you see, the 2 set boosts your skill duration by 5.7%. This is obviously nice just because some of those duration ones we need, like the infinite ammo on our 3rd attack, is going to be really useful in the first place for really any Gley build. So just having more skill duration is going to make that better. As for the 4 set, your firearm attack increases proportionally to the ratio of max HP to HP lost. Since Gley automatically loses HP for using any of her attacks, this actually ends up being one of the best possible component sets for Gley, just because since you take your own health, it'll start maximizing that set effect immediately. Awesome. All right, so let's get into the Descendant modules here. Okay, coming over to the modules here. First, we're going to talk about my general bossing build, and you can really use with any weapon. I'm specifically using it here with Executor. Executor is a really, really good shotgun, a lot of fun, especially when you have a few mods on it to max out just damage per shot, right? We will have a full in-depth video for Executor coming here really soon, so stay tuned for that. But as for Gley, we'll let the screenshot happen here, obviously. Gotta let it go, right? Let's get into it. For our bossing build, we're using the Transcendent mod called Predator Instinct. This is really good for all the weapon builds, for the most part, again, because there's another one with Python that we'll get into, as you can see up there. So Predator Instinct, when using a firearm while frenzied, gradually increases firearm attack. This is Frenzy, right? Frenzy is your first ability. It's the ability that turns Gley's hair white. You're pretty much always going to want to have this on because you need this to start boosting up any of your other powers. So kind of works right alongside there. You just boost up your firearm attack. Awesome. As far as grapples go, again, my favorite is always midair maneuvering. You can really use whichever one you like though. For these Gley builds, I actually did need to put in a crystal here. As you can see, we still have 82 of 85, so we came really close and did end up needing an extra crystal catalyst in the maneuvering. Moving on. Next here, we're going to have our 2 focus mods to start. Focus on non-attribute and focus on dimension. Starting with non-attribute, this just boosts up your non-attribute skill power by 77% and your skill cooldown by minus 6.1. This is obviously nice and in tandem with dimension because same idea. We're having our dimension skill power modifier go up and skill cooldown goes down. The big ones here, obviously, we're looking for are the cooldown mods, and just having skill power is really nice because it does start to affect some of these, especially Massacre. Massacre is the one that it really all matters for, so we'll get into that here in a minute, but we want to have both these focus mods. Next here, we have increased HP. Since Gley is a character who does not have shields, you really want to build into HP and defense. I personally find her defense is already really solid, so you can just build into HP. We have that with Stim Accelerant as well. Both of these just give a massive HP boost of 452% in the total. Awesome. Moving on here, we're going to do our cooldowns. So we have MP Conversion and Nimble Fingers. Both of these give a skill cooldown. This is obviously what we're looking for. It's minus 74%, which is really, really good. That means her ability should be coming back up before you have to use another one. That again is why I was talking about with the reactor. You want to have a good skill cooldown and skill duration. If you have one with both, awesome, use that. If you only have one, I did test both. I found that skill cooldown actually works better if you only have one. Duration's nice, but cooldown will make it so you can actually have the overlapping cooldown before you actually run out of an ability. This is really important to have both of these two, even though, you know, again, you lose a little bit of MP. Gley doesn't actually have to use MP. Again, really, really nice, all right? Gley just has HP and defense. So you can really have a lot of dump stats with her. This is really useful just to have a huge skill cooldown. That is mainly important for this right here. Increased Sensory. This is our 3rd ability. You need to have Frenzy active to get this to pop. But when you have this, as long as you have enough health to obviously proc it, it gives you infinite ammo, right? I currently have it with this build at 9.1 seconds, and my cooldown is faster than that, so I can always pop it and have infinite ammo. This is why it's really nice with a gun like Executor, which already does so much damage. Just because we can have infinite ammo on a shotgun, right? Gonna do a lot of damage really close to a boss, so ends up being a lot of fun. And then we have the last 4 over here. So skill extension, pretty simple here, just one of our blue mods we use a lot in builds. Just ups our skill duration, right? Since we focus on duration and cooldown, we're looking for mods that can do at least one of those. Walk a Tightrope is our gold mod here. Walk a Tightrope specifically is when your HP is 50% or less, your skill power modifier goes up by 30, and your firearm attack goes up by 30. This mod is really, really good on both Gley builds. I would say it's even better on the Python build because you're utilizing this 4th attack even more Massacre. All right, but the big one is the fact your firearm attack just gets a 30% increase, which is really, really nice. Just because we have some other mods in there decreasing it, as you can see, it's only 15% in the applied value here on the left. So it's really nice to try and maximize Gley's potential there, right? All tying back into Predator Instinct as well. Last 2 here, Shot Focus. One's a fun one. A firearm attack goes up, skill power modifier goes down. Since this particular bossing build, you know, the skill power doesn't matter as much. It will matter because of things like Predator Instinct, but it's more important to have that firearm attack for this specific build. And I do want to mention here with Shot Focus. I know we've talked about it in a past video, but if this is your first time watching, that's really okay. No worries. Shot Focus is a very specific mod, so I always like to touch on it. This is one of a few mods in the game, I believe 6, that can only be obtained from combining modules over in Albion. Or Albion, we call it Albion. Shot Focus is a mod that can only be grabbed by combining modules, right? It's one of 6. It's really important to make sure that you do try and get this for some of these specific builds, but if you don't have it, it's really okay. There's a few other ones you can switch into. I know another one is Agony. I know max MP doesn't do a lot, but the plus 38% defense is always nice. There's a couple others in there that you can tie in really, really easily if you just want to switch that Crystal Catalyst in that slot, or if you find something you like that can still fit in there. If you don't have Shot Focus, it really just gives an open slot. So yeah. Last mod here, maximize duration. This again is, I know the skill power modifier goes down, but because we're not using Massacre as much with the bossing build as opposed to the Python one, you can, but the whole thing with Massacre, and we'll touch on it here more, it takes on the some of the abilities and perks that the weapon that you had equipped into the actual ability, right? So for this build, since we're trying to use just firearm attack in general, we don't have to focus as much on transferring that into a pistol for Massacre. So the big part of maximized duration is just the 40% skill duration. Again, we're going for maximized cooldown and maximized duration, all tying back into mainly the infinite ammo, especially on the bossing build, right? Increased sensory, our third ability. We're really trying to build into that as much as possible for bossing. So yeah. Okay, so moving right along to the Python build now. This build is going to be a little bit different. You're going to see a lot of overlapping mods. The big one just being massive Sanguification is going to be the change here. And we're going to be using our abilities a little bit differently, right? So let's get into that. I call this just Python build because Python specifically, I would say, is one of the best weapons you can use for Gley because it ties in really well with Massacre, okay? So for our Python here, again, Python is a really, really nice weapon just because it has a good unique ability called Prey, and that can do a few, very nice things with weak point, but we'll talk about that more specifically in our Python video, so be sure to check that out soon. Back into our build here. So starting with our Transcendent mod, we have massive Sanguification. This mod modifies Life Siphon to allow the absorption of life spheres during non-frenzied state, right? So what this basically does is the trick, I would say, to this, right, is you can now use this ability, your second ability, to absorb those life orbs. You can just create them off of nothing. So when you start a boss, when you load in, you can immediately pop that and then have Frenzy. This ties in immediately to 3 and 4, right? So you can pop this for life orbs. This is nice because that will give shots to Massacre. Pop Frenzy, pop Massacre, and then pop infinite ammo. What this will do, and as we're showing here, is Massacre is going to eat those 3 bullets, and then you're going to start stacking it up with increased sensory. The reason that's really good is on a gun like Python, you can use a perk such as Mental Focus here. Mental Focus is every time you shoot a bullet, it gives a damage bonus stack up to 150 times. Obviously, if we only have 3 bullets, we need a way to maximize that. That's where the infinite ammo comes in, right? The whole duration, cooldown, all of that. With Massacre, then, basically just keep popping and holding trigger on it, and it will hold all the abilities of Python. Just super, super nice. Now, tying into this, again, we're going to go over the abilities again, even if you came from the bossing section, just because we can touch a little more on how these all tie in. So the focus on non-attribute and focus on dimension, these are really good because this 4th ability, Massacre, is dimension. Non-attribute is what Gley is, so this will boost Gley's skill power for Massacre and specifically dimension skill power. So these are both boosting Massacre's damage, right? And we get the nice side effect of having less cooldown, right? We can keep popping the infinite ammo, make sure we have that overlap. Moving down here below them again, we have MP conversion and nimble fingers. Same thing, both nice skill cooldowns, really good to have. We're trying to hold the duration, right? You only need to pop the other abilities once if you're doing this Python build, and then you just keep popping the 3rd ability here before it runs out. Again, the whole side effect of having no MP doesn't apply to Gley, obviously. She doesn't have MP, so the max MP minus does not matter here. It's really nice. Again, here we have increased HP and stim accelerant. We have the minus MP, but that doesn't matter for Gley. Since Gley is a character that relies so much on HP and she only has HP and defense stats, we want to build more into HP. Good to have defense, right? Try to balance the scale. But since all of her abilities eat HP, it's really important to have really high HP. So that's why we use both of these. Then we'll move on to these last 4. As we spoke about in our bossing build, if you didn't watch that section, that's okay. Shot Focus is a very particular mod. It is one of, I believe, 6 in the game that can only be obtained from combining modules in Albion. If you do not have this mod, that's perfectly okay. There's plenty you can switch it with that use any of the Crystal Catalyst typings. I briefly mentioned Agony is a good one just because it boosts up your defense. But as long as you have the module capacity, you really just have an open slot if you don't have or don't want to use shot focus. If you do have it, great. Just because this boosts up firearm attack by 15%, Massacre eats that from Python, boosting up its attack. So it's really good to use. I definitely recommend it, but if you don't have it, there's a lot of easy things you could slot in, and that's really dealer's choice at the end of the day. Moving along here, we have skill duration from skill extension, just 36%. This is good, again, because that whole infinite ammo thing, we have to pop less often, meaning we eat less health. This all ties back into Massacre, the fourth ability, because we're basically using mental focus from Python and a few other things from it, just to have infinite ammo in that pistol shot while we stack up 150 times damage bonus. The goal is to basically have that stack maxed out before you can actually damage the boss, so you're already starting out with a huge damage boost, which is really, really, really nice. Moving right along, we have maximize duration, skill duration, same thing, up, duration, cooldown, you know, they play on each other, so it's really important. Skill power modifier, yes, it is a little unfortunate we lose out on the 21% skill power, but we have so many other things stacking it up, and then we have, you know, a bunch of things from Python stacking it up, like mental focus. It really doesn't end up showing itself very much. And then last off here, we have our ultimate. This is Walk a Tightrope. This one is, I would say, even better on the Python build than just the bossing build, specifically because when HP is 50% or lower, and again, you do eat your own HP, so it's really easy to proc this. Not only does your firearm attack go up by 30%, which, you know, Massacre eats, your skill power modifier goes up 30%. So Python will actually end up giving Massacre, like I said, the boost, plus Massacre it's its own boost, so you really just get double. Really, really, really nice mod to use, and a lot of fun. Great. Over here in our laboratory, as we do like to show some of these results and everything we talked about in the builds in more of a real world situation, right? We're going to show off our Python build first. This one, again, since it's, you know, there's a little more going on, figured we'd start with this one. So what we're going to do, we're going to pop our first ability, get the white hair going. Then we're going to pop the second ability. As you'll see, it's actually going to fill up that bar on the bottom. You don't need to fill it up all the way by any means, because you just need enough to actually pop the pistol. So now you see we have 3 bullets. Awesome. Next, we're going to pop our infinite ammo, and then you're going to see mental focus start to stack up, right? As you see here on the left-hand side, it's going up really, really, really quickly. We already have over 80 stacks. We're going to re-pop this, and you just keep that chain going, right? The goal is to have it, as you see it, that max 150 stacks before you actually have to use it on the boss. And you're going to see different damage numbers popping out of here, but we're trying to get some crits here just to show you. It's not always easy to hit these guys, I swear. But you see, you know, I saw a 515 in there for a crit. So as you can tell, you can get some really high damage numbers when you stack this up with Python. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Real quick here, we are going to now switch over and show the bossing build. We have now switched over to our bossing build. This is the one that I'm using Executor with. You can really use any weapon, like you can use Python or Thunder Cage or anything you want, right? Enduring Legacy, Greg's, there's a lot of weapons you can choose. I personally love Executor though, and I'm going to show you why. So with our bossing build, we're going to start by applying Frenzy again. And then the cool part is here, we can just go immediately into our infinite ammo. Our second and fourth abilities don't matter nearly as much since we're trying to boost firearm attack. I maxed it out just to have max health, and we can keep the infinite ammo going, right? You always have enough shots when it comes to Executor, but, you know, the game will give you more when you load into a boss, so it's really okay. But here we go. We're going to pop the infinite ammo, and then we're going to go to 10. You're going to see a lot of numbers. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get these up on screen. I know it's going to be a little difficult, but it's really important to show, look how many pellets actually go into each ad, right? And because of the infinite ammo, you can just apply this, hold the max cooldown. Really, really, really nice, right? The goal here is to hold crits, obviously, like anything else. The only downside I would say to this bossing build is going to be the fact, as you see how close I have to be with Executor. If you're using a gun like Executor, you know, the trade-off for the really high damage, you don't have any range on it, so you end up having to stand right at boss's feet. And you'll see that with some gameplay of Gluttony, just because you see how close I have to stand, but personally feel like that trade-off is 100% worth it, just because I can inflict so much damage by myself, right? Yeah, there we go. We've shown both builds now in the laboratory. Lots of options for either one. Real quick here, I will also show one just like Enduring Legacy. It already is such a high drum magazine that it ends up being nice. But, you know, the other nice thing I would say for something like Enduring Legacy at, let's say, Gluttony, since you have infinite ammo as long as you have health, you can also help a lot when it comes to the bubble mechanic to actually prevent a wipe, right? So you have a lot of options here. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for watching today. Hopefully everybody learned something. Please feel free to ask any questions you have in the comments. We do stuff like this live all the time on Twitch as we're testing new builds, all of those things. And we will have a couple more weapon builds coming out here for you real soon, like Executor and Python. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.